What is up, everyone? I am your host, Jordan Suswitz, and I am pumped to bring you another conversation on the Film to Hunt podcast. Now, Film to Hunt is your leader in outdoor video education, and my good friends Tom Petrie and Nick Ventura are the founders of the Film to Hunt education courses, as well as host of the TV show Become One on the Sportsman's Channel. Now, today, Nick joins me for our conversation with Johnny Utah. Now, Johnny, he's been on both sides of the fence in the outdoor industry. He has been a co-owner of a large company, Wicked Tree Gear, and has seen the ins and outs of what works in today's marketing world. Johnny, he's now a full-time freelance photographer and also has a show on Carbon TV called Arrow Wild TV. In our conversation, we talk about social media and how it influences the outdoor industry. And we also talk about marketing. And then we give some tips for someone looking to get started. But before we kick off this conversation, I do want to say, I hope everyone is safe and healthy out there. These are some crazy times with this COVID-19 virus, and many are laid off from work right now, including many of the employees at Bedford Camera Video. Now, what I love about Bedford's is they're super creative, and they have come up with an awesome idea to help support their employees. They've designed a t-shirt that says, support your local camera store, and I believe they're around $18. It's an awesome idea, and that all of the profits from these shirts are going back to the employees to help them through these tough times. So if this is something that you may be interested in, head over to bedfords.com and you can find these shirts under the new products list. Like I said, I hope everyone stays safe and healthy out there. And now, let's jump into today's conversation with Johnny Utah. Well, we are here again this morning, and we are sitting down with a gentleman that is, I would say, pretty well known in the outdoor industry. He has created a little bit of identity, a great identity, from taking great photos, representing the outdoor industry super well, and just an all-around awesome person. And more than happy to have Johnny Utah, Johnny Mulligan, on the podcast. Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning, man. That was quite the build-up.
Yeah.
I was like, he was leading into it. I'm going, man, who is this badass? You know what I mean? I want to meet this guy.
Yeah, no, man. It's. I appreciate you coming on this morning and doing what you do, because it's good to know that there's great people out there.
I appreciate it.
Representing the industry. So
likewise.
Fellow Prime Pro. We're always happy to have a fellow.
Yeah. We got to stick together.
Yeah,
that's right.
There's only a select few of us.
That's right. There really, and that's the thing. There really isn't a whole lot of people that Prime works with, directly.
Yeah.
So
and they're all great. I mean, there's
it's a super. And it's pretty tight.
One guy. No, I'm just kidding.
There's that one. That guy.
Yeah.
And then sitting next to Johnny is my main man, bearded man, Mr. Nick Ventura. Good morning, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. I got my coffee.
Wait, I don't see no coffee though.
Oh, I had my coffee.
It's already in it.
Yeah. It's done. It's coming out soon, but I've had it.
That's a fact.
Well, we just ate breakfast, and we ate I think it was called the Capitol Diner.
Yeah.
And Nick and I have done pretty good, eating healthy here.
That's what we did yesterday.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And it's just like, well, we just ate a ton of carbs, and the guts are not agreeing. So it's like, well, hopefully we can make it through this podcast.
I did one of those giant omelets.
Oh,
yeah.
Like a 3 or 4 egg omelet.
Oh,
probably.
yeah. I'm just loaded up.
Yeah.
They were like, they said, I said, how many eggs do you have in an omelet? And she was like, I think it's like 3. I'm like, that's rookie stuff. You know what I mean? I was like, give me like 5.
Comes in a whole plate of potatoes next to it.
I was like, I'm like 210. You know what I mean? I'm like, come on. I got to feed this.
It's protein.
Yeah, I got to feed it.
Eat that light trade show lunch if there is one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take a selfie here for there we go.
There you go. You got it.
You shut the phone off. All right, we'll make sure we. And I'm a photographer. Yeah. All right.
I'm really jacked up about this topic today because I always preach it. I know John always preaches it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you've.
I try to implement it.
Do your best, but no, you have, and I think it's important. It's one of those topics that I think not everybody agrees with,
right?
But it has to be said, and I think people should agree with it.
Yeah, I think this topic also is one of those things where there's that water cooler talk, and then there's that on the surface in public talk, and then people will take different positions depending on what their audience is, and I'm like, no, F that. Yeah. I've taken the same stance no matter where I'm at. If I'm talking to the best known photographer, a starting photographer, or my parents, you know?
Yeah. So I guess let's get into that a little bit, and the topic would be is, here in the outdoor industry as a freelancer, we're all trying to make a living at this. And there's the pro staff, so there's guys willing to do stuff for free and because they got a 40-hour, regular job.
Sure.
And so they're making a living doing that, but they want to do this as fun because it's like, so you got companies, big name companies, taking advantage of this and not utilizing the professionals that have taken the time and invested in themselves.
And it's freelancers, TV shows, web shows. I mean, it really applies just to the company,
correct?
Versus what that person's doing because it's all the same. But
So I mean, we want to get your kind of opinion on the industry as a whole and what's going on with trying to make a living at this. And talk. We can talk about daily rates and how kids. I don't want to say kids, but what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I have an interesting perspective because of how I got into this. I got into this pretty much at the exact same time with Wicked Tree Gear as an owner, and then also with White Knuckle Productions back in the day, in the DVD days. So I guess I always took that stance of understanding it from the manufacturer side. I know exactly, with a rule of thumb, what a manufacturer has in their product and what they need to get out of it. I've seen just about everybody's media kit in the industry at one time or another, people that were, wanting to get sponsored by Wicked or Tecumani or something, brands that I was with.
Yeah.
So, and I got to see, where I invested dollars, and I got to see where those dollars equated, you know what I mean? And if it made a spike in sales or whatever. So, I kind of have it's like an educated guess, you know what I mean? Like there's I've had some data. So,
No, because I mean, in Tom's same boat, Camel
Exactly,
Cameras.
from
He
Camel
was on
Cameras.
the other side of the table too. So I've learned a little bit of that from him, and I couldn't agree more. It is an advantage, but it's also
you have
now
to
that
see
you
it
know
from
it
both
also
sides.
can hurt you, I guess, because
Very true.
You know what you need to get. and
Correct.
What your worth is.
Yeah, and it's with ATA, they made their changes this year. Day one, it was a no media day, and I made a post about, hey, let's get behind this. And I don't care if it's the wrong decision, it's a decision.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So,
Trying
okay,
something
cool.
different.
Yeah, let's try it. If it doesn't work, sweet. They can readjust next year.
Yeah.
But let's support what ATA is doing, because ATA is the manufacturers and the dealers. And without the manufacturers and the dealers and sales in the stores and people making products and manufacturers making money, then all of us as freelancers or shows or whatever, we got to find the new sandbox to play in.
Yeah.
And I don't want a 9 to 5. I don't want to go back to that world.
Yeah. 100%
So
agree.
I like my sandbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that we have come. Social media has influenced the whole industry, and you have social media influencers, and the sad thing is you have people that aren't really into hunting, but they have that effect on other people. And is it the right effect?
Right.
So it's a tough and it's. I mean, what's your opinion on trying to find that balance for a company standpoint? What do you think? What is a company looking at when they look at these influencers and saying, well, so and so, it looks really good in that Instagram photo.
Yeah.
And he's got 500,000 followers.
Yeah.
Are we going to sell X amount of products with that person?
Right.
Or are we going to take Johnny Utah, that professional, and takes amazing photos, can deliver us content because he has delivered us content.
Sure.
And understands the industry.
I think a lot of that comes down, what I've seen is it comes down to who is the marketing director or who is the content manager for that company.
Okay.
If they're a little more savvy, it seems like now people are starting to understand that big numbers doesn't equate to sales and conversion and influence. I did kind of a conversation about this recently where I referred to it as followers versus influence.
Yeah.
And there is a difference, And now there may be a marketing strategy that their idea is they just want to get eyeballs. But I think we've all said this once before about, maybe there's a particular influencer that was posing with a product, and let's say it's a cooler, for example.
Yeah.
And somebody says, "Oh man, did you see that cooler? oh, there was a cooler in that photo. Like all I saw was the bikini, or you know what I mean,
Right.
or I saw something, you know. But you know, a lot of likes, a lot of followers does not always equate to sales, you know, and I've had people that'll reach out to me, as I know you guys do, people that are coming into the industry or they're wanting to get more traction, and they're like, man, I just don't have a lot of followers, I don't have a lot of likes. Well, what do you have right now? I have 1,000. Mm-hmm. Are you truly engaged with your 1,000? Well, I get 400 likes out of my 1,000 followers. Like, holy crap! Like you're crushing it.
Yeah.
Do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do that. Like
Right.
I would take that kind of a percentage to know that I'm influencing 480 people versus having 100,000 followers and I'm influencing maybe 2 people to buy that product.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And I think people are starting to see the authenticity of it. Mm-hmm. You know, there was a friend of mine that has a supplement business for training and stuff, and he's got influencers and you know with thousands and thousands and thousands, you know, of followers, but his number one conversion is a 40-year-old woman who teaches like yoga classes because she's, you know, like people are sometimes seeing through, you know, the message, and they're like, look, she's genuine as crap. She's 40 years old. Like
And she's educated on it. Probably.
yeah,
She
she's
knows
educated, you know, and she's like me. She's relatable, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way.
And I think too, like from my standpoint, I've always been a believer in grassroots,
100%,
and building relationships.
Yeah.
And I knew coming into this industry because I worked in retail my whole life. I worked, you know, for a distributor for Anheuser-Busch, and you know, so we had to go into accounts and build relationships and continue to grind it out. So, you know, understanding that and bringing it into the outdoor industry, because it's such a small niche industry, you have to build relationships and have people trust you that you're going to be able to deliver. And it's talking to some of the companies I've worked with, it's sad to hear that they have they're given money to someone saying, hey, you need to deliver this is our agreement, and that company and not get the deliverables.
Oh, and that happens
a lot, and it's unfortunate. So I feel like if you want to get into this industry, you have to have a great work ethic.
100%.
Yeah.
I preach that a lot.
Yeah.
Loyalty, I think, is just I mean, and the other topic I've thought about too is one of the things, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, one of the hardest things to do starting out is to do something for free for product and then turn that around into making money from that company.
It's tough to make that transition.
Because once that company, say Jorden does free work for hats.
Sure.
And then that hat company, they grow and they make an extra $10,000 that year, and they put $5,000 back in the marketing budget. They're not going to look at Jorden and say, we should compensate him for doing that. They're going to say, let's go get Johnny Utah now and get somebody else on the staff.
Now we can afford.
Jordan's for free.
Right.
It's just,
he gets categorized.
And you can't blame them, because that's just, in their eyes, they're thinking, that's your worth is a few free hats. And they're like, great, we got him.
Yeah.
Now let's get the big budget. Now let's go after a Mark Drury or somebody that can really pump up, you know, those sales. And that's the toughest. And these new people or people that are still doing it for a while think that magically it'll change. It doesn't seem to do that very often.
And that was one of the things, like, you know, rest in peace, you know, my old business partner, Todd Prignitz. You know, Todd used to always tell me when I got into all this that he's like, never do work for free. Yeah. And I said, well, but wait a second, you know, like,
prove yourself.
If you're brand new, like, how do you do that? Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm like, isn't that the way it works in life? Is maybe you do a little something for free and he's like, it just doesn't work that way.
Not in the outdoors.
Yeah, once you're free, you're free.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really hard to make that transition. So what we would do a lot of times is we would work with a company on a product-based situation, but we were always up front. Year one is a product base. We're going to use your stuff. We're going to show it a little bit, but we're not going over the top like full-blown sponsorship style. Then we'll see where it goes. But year two, if you want to continue working, year two is monetary. Yeah. And we had some people that said, yeah, it sounds great. And then year two, they were like, we just really don't have the budget. Okay, cool. You know, that sucks. And I know I know you guys well enough to know that the worst thing that you want to do is like jump brand to brand to brand to brand.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes you look like crap, you know, and you hate doing it. So
People
I kind
stop
of
believing you.
Exactly. Yeah. When they see you jump like that, especially mid-season, I've seen some guys do that. I'm like, no. At least wait till the end of the year. You know, ride it out. You know, like
drift it off a little bit.
Yeah. Don't make any announcements until you find your first shed. You know what I mean? Until it's a new year. But And I even broke one of my rules. I changed trail camera companies this year, but
I saw that.
It was that was an odd one for me. But that was a relationship thing. You know, I'd been friends, you know, with these guys for so long, and then the previous company, they changed ownership.
Correct.
So it was like the playing field changed a little bit, and it was just time to make that change.
And that's where a lot of people, you know, that are listening, if anybody listens at all, don't realize is it's not always up to Nick or John or Jordan.
Sure.
I mean, like that's marketing hands change, company changes.
Oh yeah.
They want to bring on their own guys. It's not always, but and ultimately that's what happens in the long run. They may say, "Hey, Johnny, we're going to keep things the same."
Right.
But you know, deep down, they're eventually going to start shifting focus.
Correct.
It's just they have their formula and they got to keep it. So.
Yeah. And you know, a new marketing director comes in.
Yeah.
In this industry, we a lot of people jump from brand to brand,
depending on where that marketing guy goes.
Yeah, exactly. And also on the flip side, a guy that's a marketing director for company A, he very well may be working for company B next year, you know, and then company C the year after that. So he has his people that he has worked with in the past that have done well by him and given him his content that he needed. So, you know, he may go, I don't know if we should sponsor them anymore. But hey, when I was at company C, I worked with these guys and become one. They crushed it. So let's get them on board, you know. So that happens a little bit. So it's, like you said, it's not always in our control, you know, as to what happens. But
I wish it was. I wish we could be like, you know, I want to go and I want to go shoot Bergar rifles now. Let's just line that up and give them a call. And they're like, yeah, sure, Nick. Here's some money and here's a couple
custom
guns.
inlay on that. How do you want that done?
You want a new truck? Sure, whatever you want.
Dodge, Chevy, Ford. You know, you decide.
That's when I first started. My dad would be like, "Oh, I got this new net rifle." He goes, "You should get sponsored by them." I go, I can't just call them up and be like, "Hey, you know, you can sponsor me now, you know, if you want." You know, but it's funny.
My wife, I was joking about my truck, and she's like, "Why don't you just call somebody at Dodge or something?" I'm like, if you've got them on speed dial, like hook it up. You know what I mean? I'm like, trust me, I'd love to have that contact.
I can't imagine how many hoops you'd have to jump through to get to that person's email.
Well, 17 firewalls.
I went in our local Dodge dealership, and I went in because I got a new truck this last year, and I was just like, hey, this is kind of what I'm doing. You know, we could, you know, maybe trade some work out, you know, get a better price on the truck. And because I live in, you know, small town northern Michigan, they're like, hey, that does happen.
Sure.
But because we're such a smaller dealership, we don't get the marketing dollars or whatever.
Because it comes from Dodge, I would imagine.
And he's like, man, if you live downstate, he says, that happens a lot.
Sure.
And I was like, dang it.
Wouldn't that be,
that'd be sweet.
I was close to hooking up with a Dodge dealer in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of those situations where, like, you kind of have to be like, you have to understand how the program works.
Yeah.
I think if they would have had a better understanding of, you know, how it comes together, the deal would have gone a little smoother. And it was just kind of like, it was just like a lot of unknowns. I'm like, I'll just keep my 2016 Dodge Ram for now.
Yeah. I've heard rumors, and I can't say they're true, or I won't say who it is, but if people work with these dealerships, and they'll just give them a truck every year. They just go back in, here's the keys, get a new one.
That was what I was trying to do, was basically
like a loaner program,
like $1, at least for $1 a year.
Yeah,
you maintain, you know, maintenance and
oil change, all the good stuff.
And you know, all like, and insurance and all that kind of stuff. But
would you feel? Because I know I would feel like I can't beat it up at all, or you know,
I'd drive it like a rental.
1 year deal.
Well, no, I told him too, because I was going to wrap it. Actually, I was going to go through your all's VFX guy, and I said, I'm going to wrap this thing. So I said, here's the deal. I don't want to be wrapping something a year later. You know, I at least want to do a 2-year thing. So. But no, like we were saying, you know, with people getting into the industry and trying to get connected and get plugged in, there was a question that came up. Have you ever been on Facebook and somebody poses a question or a topic and you're like, keep scrolling. Shit. Next thing I know, I'm in the comments. You know what I mean? I'm like, I got sucked into this. Yeah. And it was a guy, basically, they were making a comment about, this is BS. This company gave me a 20% discount.
Yeah.
And, you need to know your worth. And I told him to fly a kite. And it just struck a chord with me. And I commented back. I said, what is your worth?
Yeah.
My dad and I, we used to restore classic muscle cars back in the day. And you can go to a car show and some guy walks by and says, man, I'd give you 50 grand for that muscle car. The next guy, if it's a Chevy and he's a Ford guy, he's like, I wouldn't give you 2 grand for it.
Yeah.
So we don't get to determine our worth.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
It's determined as to what someone is willing to pay for it or wants to pay for that service. You can be the best landscape photographer in the world.
Yeah.
But if somebody needs product lifestyle,
you're worthless.
You're worthless. Yeah. So when I got into, I didn't own a camera ever. I bought my first camera in 2015 when I got hooked up with Sitka, and I knew that they liked photos. And I'm like, I better go get a camera. I'm like, oh man. Yeah. I mean, I didn't own a Polaroid. I didn't own a Cybershot. Nothing.
Yeah.
Flip phone.
Yeah, literally, it's all I had. And so what I did is I went to a Best Buy and I walked in. I said, look, man, please, don't take advantage of me. I think I went in my police uniform, actually. Yeah. So hopefully you wouldn't take advantage of me. But I said, hey, I know nothing, but I want a good full frame camera. Yeah. And he talked me into a 5D Mark III, and that was like literally out of the gate what I started with.
Nice.
And
pretty rare story for someone to start off with a 5D Mark III.
Yeah. Well, I don't do anything half-assed.
You want a video camera? Start with a red. Try it out.
Yeah, exactly. Got those red dragons in stock? Let me grab one of those. You know what? Yeah, let's do that.
Here's a gift card.
Yeah. L-Series glass. Give me one of each. Yeah. But so I went all in and self-taught, YouTube videos. Yeah. Had a buddy of mine, Jeremy Myers. He kind of taught me what Lightroom is and what it does. Yeah. And one of the best pieces of advice he gave me was find some photos that you like and try to copy them. Yeah. And I was like, what? Copy? And he goes, I don't mean post them. Yeah. Just for practice. It's like doing, homework, math homework. Yeah. Just practice. Try to emulate, and figure out the settings. And that went a long way. But, you guys are super, super talented. I've seen all of your stuff and I'm nowhere near as good as you guys. And it's one of those things where every day,
by the way.
Yeah.
Well, every day.
I was waiting for Jordan to say. I was like, someone's got to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Well, every day you guys get, you see your work and you try to get better, and we have to make a living because none of this camera equipment's free, and that you're providing a service. But what I was telling these guys on this post was, if you're getting into the industry, and if I was getting ready to buy this koozie right here and knew that I was going to spend $5 on this koozie or something, and somebody said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 50% off, if you buy it. Sweet. I just saved $250 that I wouldn't have saved before. Right. So that's a win, right? Mm-hmm. But if you start doing work, and you see this a lot, people get into the industry, they get their first camera, and they've got 17 followers. I don't care if you're taking the bomb photos. Only 17 people were potentially influenced.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying it's all about the number of influencers you have or followers or likes that you have, but you kind of have to know, you got to know your role. You kind of got to know where you're at. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I did some stuff, for some discounts starting out. Mm-hmm. I did some stuff for some free products starting out. And then finally this past year, I said, that's it. It's time to really, raise my prices. Yep. And I'm either going to eat ramen noodles or I'm going to, eat steak. Yep. And I, luckily it all worked out. But, once some people start to see your work and they get to know you, and I think that's the other thing that people don't realize is marketing directors talk to marketing directors. Mm-hmm. This industry is so small, mm-hmm. and you say you're going to deliver 100 photos and you don't, you're blackballed, like real fast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do solid work. Crawl before you walk. If it's a part-time job, let it be a part-time job. You can afford to take some chances. But at the same time, like, don't be taken advantage of. And I'm a big, proponent of, like, respect the industry at the same time too.
Yeah.
You know, we're all trying to make a living doing this, and then somebody comes along and maybe they are independently wealthy and they don't need to make a lot of money, but they want to be famous. So they go out and say, well, I'll do 100 photos for $100. Makes it real hard whenever we go to hit them up for $1,000, you know, for 100 photos. You can't compete with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point that you said, you know, the respect thing. Like, obviously it's tough to get into it. And yeah, that's glad that you brought that up, because it is. You respect the people that are here and the work that they do.
Yeah, respect the industry, respect the craft, build it up. You know, my dad, you know, he owned a plumbing business when I was a kid, and I remember one time he was cussing out this guy. I don't know, this guy's name was Jim or something. He's like, Jim. He's like, that low balling piece of crap, you know? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, he only charges $35 an hour. And he's like, we're out here, you know, I've got insurance and liability and crews and trucks. And
little Johnny eating all the food and back at the house.
Exactly, you know? And he's like, somebody's got to buy your Little Debbie snack cakes, you know? So
makes sense now, don't it?
Yeah, I mean, and his thing was like, we should all kind of be on the same page.
Right.
You know, charge the same, and it makes more sense that way. But
I think why don't we end this with like our best piece of advice? Go around the table. I'll start because I got one burning in my head. Some 19, 20-year-old kid, you know, he's got real tree camo. He's got an old Hoyt bow. If I were to give them advice, I'd say shoot the best photos you can of what you own right now without going out and getting those discounts. Build a portfolio, then go to these trade shows, show to a company, say, hey, this is what I've always had. This is my photos I shoot. What would you pay for me to shoot photos for your company? Start off, even if it's a small amount, at least you're now getting paid, so there's that raise. Free to pay is tough. Pay to more money is much easier.
For sure.
Instead of jumping on that bandwagon of, well, I'll get a discount for a bow and it'll cost me $800, but it's usually $850, so that's a win for me. And then you're trying to make it with that bow, and it usually doesn't work out. But that's my advice. Is like you said, start small, build relationships, but don't be married to a brand for nothing, because eventually it's gonna get tiring for working for nothing. But
100%.
What are your thoughts for that 19-year-old kid, no girlfriend, looking to start it off?
You know, and I've had those questions. Hey, what camera should I buy? Buy the best camera that you can afford to not do without a meal. You know what I mean? And I always say go lens before body as far as, you know, but that's a great point. I mean, take photos of stuff you own, even if it's like your ratty truck or outside mudding or something, you know, and
styrofoam cooler.
Sunset. And, you know, I saw as a marketing director, it was a little easier for me because the thing that I was lacking on my end, I was always reaching out to my content creators. I need this, I need this, I need this. And it was like a light bulb.
Specific photos or just like, more content?
For me, it was like product lifestyle. I couldn't get enough of it. So I thought, okay, as a freelance photographer, I'm going to specialize in product lifestyle, because maybe everybody else is in the same boat as me.
I'm sure.
And I've kind of that's kind of been my niche, as you guys have seen with a lot of my photos. A lot of my stuff is very, very product lifestyle. But because I want that, to me, is value, because that's going to help them in their sales, right? And then it makes it easier to pay me or other photographers, you know, as well in the industry. So, my advice would be, like you said, focus on the product side, but have a big portfolio. You know, high shutter, low shutter, you know, sunrise, sunset, any of that kind of stuff, negative space photos, and then have that portfolio. When I went to ATA last year, it was the first year I did this. I had a 28-page photo portfolio. And
I think you showed us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I took that, and literally people were like, wow, it's not printed paper. It's not stapled together. Like, you went this far to prepare this. That was kind of a big first step to earning that trust, and that helped for me. But I like what you're saying. That's really, really good, actually. Just take photos of what you have.
Yeah, don't jump on that pro staff bandwagon.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that's great. Big portfolio of different things. You see a lot of guys that just focus on like everything shallow depth of field.
Yeah.
Or that's the first thing that they
We
figure
all
out to
did
do.
that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like
everything was 1.4,
1.2,
1.8.
1.2. Look how low it goes with the speed booster. It's like,
well, see, I
but you can't
splashed
see
the pot
anything
on the
else.
5D, so all I had was 1.8.
But yeah, that's agreed. Because if you can do all those things and figure out why you have to do different things, then you're so much better off than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because eventually that shallow depth of field stuff will start to become just overused. And
Well, you remember that?
It already is.
Yeah, that and the oversaturation. Man, I'm glad that died.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember still taking like early broadhead pictures like 7-8 years ago where you could barely see what the arrow was.
Right.
It's just like part of the broadhead and then just like it might as well be white sky, and you're like, awesome. Looking back now, it's like, I mean, even this, we won't say who this is banner. It's just, it's so shallow.
Yeah.
And your focus goes to nothing because it's so far off the page.
Yeah. Well, and have you noticed too, like looking through the viewfinder, it looks like you're more in focus. You're not as shallow.
Yeah.
And then you go to edit and you're like, oh,
darn it.
That was looking like 2.8. Now it's looking like 0.8. You know?
Yeah.
All right, Jordan, bring us home.
Yeah, so for me, because I've been to the film to hunt schools and as a student and as a teacher, is I tell
Which,
a lot.
by the way, fantastic job on the Badlands intro reels and
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah,
that was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry.
Super blessed to have that, but
You just threw him off his game big time.
I know, man.
sorry.
I'm one track. No.
Sorry.
Is a lot of these kids coming into the screen, obviously.
Yeah.
And whether if you come to the film to hunt school or if you just went to Best Buy and bought your first camera, is again practice. Go out. I don't care if you're going out and shooting a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Use your creative mind. Like, man, what can I do to make a fire hydrant creative?
Yep.
We sat down with Luke from Bedford Outdoors, and one of his first jobs was shooting cows and grass fields. So I asked him, well, how do you go be creative? And he was like, well, I was going to take photos of cars and, how can I use that creative standpoint and bring it into shooting a grass field?
Yeah, he was fueling the fire like elsewhere. He's like, clock out. Now I'm going to do something cool. That was his train of thought.
So my advice is get out there and practice. Use the camera.
Yeah.
Because if you're not using your camera, you're not learning.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're not bullets. They're just shutter clicks. Correct. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Fire them off.
That's right.
It'll cost money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny too, like you said. So when I first started out, it was like spray and pray.
Yeah.
And now I'm more like methodical because I'm thinking, man, I got to edit that. I got to have to look at each one of these.
Yeah.
So I'm a little more chick. Where it used to be.
Yeah, well, I think it's the same with video now. Like, even look at like Matt Singer, who's in my eyes one of the best in the industry at what he does, telling the story.
Yeah.
Every year it seems like I get less and less video. If I need 22 clips, I'll get 23.
Yeah.
And it's just because he's done it for so long, he knows what he needs to get. He's not wasting his time, and not that he's not shooting a lot. He is, but he's not just going out just to shoot stuff. He's like he's got an idea.
The shot, not a bunch of shots.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, to your point, I think a lot of photographers, I hear of both, but I think I enjoy the ones that are figuring out the shot, not just like hoping for a good one out of 100 shots. They're like, I'll shoot 12 and 10 of them are useful.
I'll add one thing to my 19, 20-year-old.
Yeah.
To infinite-year-old. Come up with your caption before you take the photo.
Yeah.
A lot of people struggle with, I don't know what photo to take. Come up with a caption. Yeah. And then that will tell you exactly how to compose the shot and take the shot.
Yeah, I love that.
So that's one of my advices I always give people is think of a caption and then the photo will come natural.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
That's great. That's a good way to end it.
Yeah.
I like it. Strong.
Yeah. Now we got to think of the caption for this podcast.
Right. Yeah.
Are you 19 or 20 years old? If not, you can't listen to this.
We got nothing for you.
Yeah. Do you have a flip phone camera? This is for you.
Well, Johnny, man, I really appreciate you taking the time this morning. I know we got here a little bit later than we wanted, but totally appreciate it, and we'd love to have you on again.
Anytime
to carry more conversations about production and anything like that.
I've always said, in a 12-inch by 12-inch square, I'm a pretty big deal. So the fact that you guys had me on here makes me feel even more special.
Yeah, man.
We love it, dude. We appreciate you.
And we love your work and everything like that. So keep
Thank
it
you
up,
very
man.
much.
And
Appreciate it.
we hope you have a great year.
How can people find you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know it's like 9 different ways, but
Yeah. So, well, if you're on the Twitter, number one thing for me is Instagram. It's johnny.utah.hunt.
Yeah.
There's also Arrow Wild TV, Johnny Utah Creative, and Bourbon Barrel Calls. Then those are all matching on Facebook as well.
Okay.
And then YouTube, Arrow Wild TV, Carbon TV.
Awesome, man. Well, great, man. I appreciate it. And make sure anyone that did listen, check out Johnny and all of his work. So
Thank you.
Thank you,
problem.
man.
Yep.
Hey, thanks for joining us today with Johnny Utah. Johnny's a great person, and we really enjoyed our conversation with him today. And if you like this conversation, make sure you hit the subscribe button on Apple iTunes. And also, if you want, give us a rating. We'd love to hear what you think of the show. Now, if you are someone looking to get started filming your hunts, or just simply want to take a better picture, or even if you want to sharpen up those skills before turkey season, head over to filmthehunt.com and check out one of our online courses. They are filled with great information, and I do have a promo code so that you can save 25% on those courses, and that's FTH Podcast. Again, that is FTH PODCAST. And like I said, you'll save 25%. As always, we want to thank Bedford Camera and Video for the support of this podcast. They are a great company, and not only do they care about their customers, but they also care about their employees. As I mentioned in the beginning of the show, they are selling Support Your Local Camera Store t-shirts for like $18. And the awesome thing is that all the profits go to the employees to help them out through these tough times. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, head over to bedfords.com and you can find those shirts in the new products list. And thanks again for listening to today's conversation. Until next time, stay safe and healthy, everyone. Cheers.